Says pause stop.
That's it.
Yeah, it's recording.
Why does it say pause stop?
Because because if you push it now, it'll pause,
I got it. All
Yep.
right.
or the next one will stop.
Draft script for remotely conducted open meetings. As a confirming member access. As a preliminary matter, this is Richard McGrath, Chairman of the Architectural Preservation District Commission. I will do a roll call to confirm that all members are present and can hear me. Brian Cochran,
Present, I can hear you, Richard.
Cullen Dwyer,
Present, I can hear you.
Tony Nicastro,
Present, I can hear you.
Good evening. In accordance with the requirements of the open meeting law, please be advised that this meeting is being recorded and broadcast over the Lunenburg Public Access Channel. And this meeting of the Architectural Preservation District Commission is being conducted remotely. The town of Lunenburg, in response to the COVID-19 coronavirus, is currently following the guidance from the Lunenburg Board of Health, Massachusetts Department of Public Health, and the CDC regarding the virus and steps communities can take to prevent the spread. And all town facilities are only open by appointment only at this time. In accordance with the governor's order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, GLC 30A-20, all public meetings are being conducted remotely. The order, which you can find posted on the town website on the COVID-19 Information Center page, accessed through the town manager's webpage, allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will feature public comment. This meeting of the Architectural Preservation District Commission is convening by video conference via Zoom, as posted on the town's website, identifying how the public may join. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and that some attendees are participating by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that other folks may be able to see you and that take care not to screen share your computer. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. We're now turning to the first item on the agenda. Before we do so, permit me to cover some ground rules for effective and clear conduct of our business and to ensure accurate meeting minutes. I, Richard McGrath, will introduce each speaker on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, the chair will go down the line of members, inviting each by name to provide any comment, questions, or motions. Please hold until you If a member wishes to engage in colloquy with other members, please do so through the chair, taking care to identify yourself. For items of public comment, after members have spoken, the chair will afford public comment as follows. The chair will first ask members of the public who wish to speak to identify their names and addresses only. Once the chair has a list of all public commentators, I will call on each by name and afford 3 minutes for any comments. Finally, each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by roll call vote. Okay, that's the end of that. Review of minutes.
Yep, I have some minutes from our meeting on 12/16, Richard. And I also have some abbreviated minutes from our workshop discussion on January 12th. So if you want, I'll walk through those right now.
Yes, Brian Cochran,
Okay.
review them, read the minutes.
Okay. So the first is our meeting minutes from 12/16, 2020. In attendance was Richard McGrath, Cullen Dwyer, Tony Nicastro, and Brian Corcoran. Also in attendance was Jennifer Isles, representing for 998 Mass Ave CTA discussion. Meeting was called to order at 7:03 p.m. Richard outlined the meeting being held on Zoom and then gave ground rules for the meeting. The first agenda item, 998 Lancaster Ave CTA. Jennifer Isles discussed the roof of a single bay garage to be stripped of asphalt shingle and be replaced with new asphalt shingle color gray that are like for like. And the commission voted unanimous to accept the CTA. Second agenda item was discussion of the APDC walkthrough that occurred on November 14th, 2020, which included the route starting with the Ritter building, then the old primary school, and then proceeded on to Mass Ave heading west. Reviewed contributing properties on both sides of Mass Ave. A note that some modifications may have been made without the APDC knowledge. Committee reviewed the draft letter regarding notifying the building inspector of APD bylaws and APDC guidelines. Discussion about the draft resulted in an adjustment to the letter to include appropriate bylaw verbiage. The final letter was created and was sent to the building inspector. Discussion about the meeting with the board on the 12th of January 2021 regarding the old primary school. It was agreed by all members that the building should be preserved or sold to a prospective buyer who commits to rehabilitation or reuse. For the January 12th meeting, Richard will outline discussion topics and request information from the board about the building's actions and plans. The 2021 APDC goals, continuing to document contributing properties within the APD. Some discussion ensued regarding photographic documentation of the properties in the district. Also to note, was brought up the old primary school. Is it on the National Register? It's to be investigated by Cullen. If it was not, perhaps may apply for national registration. Cullen to also check on the Old Town Pound and the Luther Burbank House. And then missing APD signs from 71 Highland Street. The Oak Ave sign should be moved south of Turkey Hill Road, and the Mass Ave East sign may not actually be posted. Richard was going to investigate those. The next APDC meeting, January 2021, that would be our normal, and the meeting adjourned at 8:05 p.m. Does anybody want to make a motion to accept the meeting or any adjustments? Or
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes as presented. They sound accurate to me.
I'll second the motion. Tony, welcome back. We're just voting to accept the minutes as read.
I accept the minutes.
okay, so that was the minutes for December 16th, 2020. The next set of minutes.
Wait a minute. Wait, Brian. Motion was accepted, and Tony seconded it.
I second it.
All in favor, state your name before presenting your aye or nay. Brian Cochran.
Brian Corcoran, I accept to the minutes as written.
Cullen Dwyer.
Cullen Dwyer also votes to accept minutes as read.
Anthony Nicastro.
Tony Nicastro accepts the minutes read.
All set? We lost your audio, Richard.
We got a freeze.
There we go.
Okay.
Not enough bandwidth.
Unanimously.
Okay.
Okay, continue on with the next.
Okay, so the next minutes, I did an abbreviated version of the minutes. There was so much back and forth, it was really hard to get every little bit of detail. So I'll read from what I have, but it is abbreviated, keep in mind. So the APDC minutes from the workshop discussion from January 12th, 2021. So the members in attendance were Richard McGrath, Cullen Dwyer, Tony Nicastro, and Brian Corcoran. Also in attendance, Heather Lemieux, Todd Dwyer, James Marino, Katie Adams, Tom Alonso, Kevin Boosum, Bill Lasco, Robert Olivier, Michael Ray Jeffries, Chuck Venzia, and the Lunenburg Ledger.
Mhm.
The meeting was called to order at 7:31. Go ahead, Colin.
Just corrections on the name. I think it's Chuck Venezia, I think is his name.
I think I had the spelling right. I may have pronounced it wrong. Venezia.
Yeah.
Venezia? Okay.
And then Bill, I
Also-
think it's Laxo. Lakso, is that right?
That's correct.
Lakso? Okay.
Yeah. I know you want to say Lasco, but it's Laxo.
And Jen,
Okay, I'll make a correction on that. Thank you.
Brian Jennifer Sanderson was in attendance from the Historical Commission also.
Did she show up late?
No, she was with Bill. She left early.
Okay. Sanderson?
Sanderson, yes.
Okay. Okay, I'll correct the writing for Laxo, and I'll add Jennifer Sanderson to that as well. So we called the meeting to order at 7:31 p.m. So I'm just going to first bullet. Tom Alonso discussed the primary school has been vacant since the 2011 or 2012 timeframe. The town is looking to demolish the building and use the land for green space. The building was put up for sale in the past and no offers were made. Dialogue between the town and representatives, historical commission members, and the APD ensued. After all parties were heard, the conclusion from the discussion was that the town and some historical commission members agreed to demolish the building. However, the APDC is in disagreement because the bylaw does not support the decision to demolish the building. Towards the end of the meeting, Katie Adams mentioned she would be open to consider converting the old primary school to the town hall and keeping the TC Passios building as school property. It was also mentioned near the end of the meeting, the town did minor alterations to preserve the building. However, after researching repairing of the roof, a recommendation by the APDC, the town select board majority voted against doing roof repairs. At the end of the meeting, Michael Jeffries commented that he did not believe the bylaw was intended for town buildings and suggested to the town select board members to reevaluate the APD bylaws. And the meeting adjourned at 8:48 p.m. It's very condensed, but and there was a lot of back and forth going on.
Mm-hmm.
Did members,
Richard froze again.
Yeah,
Froze up,
I
Richard.
think we know about
Okay.
that.
members want to add anything to those minutes?
I mean, I think that pretty well sums up what happened at the meeting. And you know, if there was any correction, I would just say that it wasn't, you know, demolition of the building was not inconsistent with the bylaw, but so much as it was just inconsistent with the mission of the APDC.
Okay.
Like there was nothing illegal about demolishing it. It's just It's
Right. Okay.
not,
That's fair.
yeah.
Okay.
Mm.
I guess it's probably worth noting that Tom Alonso, he did defend himself, saying that the select board had not neglected the building, that the building had already been neglected before the bylaw was created. So I think that's probably another thing that's worth noting, that a point that he brought up, that he more or less denied allegations of demolition by neglect.
Okay. I'll add that in. So I'll change, because it doesn't meet the bylaw, I just say that it's not the mission of the APD. And then I'll add that the town denied the demo by neglect, as the building had already been neglected previously.
Yes, good.
Can I have a motion to accept the minutes as presented, please?
I'll make that
Make a-
motion.
Sorry. I, Tony Nicastro, second the motion.
All in favor? Brian Cochran,
So I'm in favor, and I'll make the edits, and then I'm in favor of it.
Cullen Dwyer,
I vote to approve the minutes as amended.
Anthony Nicastro,
I vote to approve the minutes as amended.
Richard
Very good.
McGrath votes to approve the minutes as amended. It's unanimous.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Good.
Okay, moving on to any new business. Anybody have any new business? No new business. We're going to old business, APD signs.
One moment, Richard. I guess it would be an item of new business. I sent out an email, I guess it was probably in November, about creating a district map with the inventory.
A district what?
A district map with
Yep.
our inventory
Yes.
and corresponding codes or numbers for every contributing property. Which was the work that was, I think, begun when we did our walkthrough this fall.
Yes, could you provide further detail on what that would be like?
Sure. I mean, what I was doing at the time was just taking a map of the district and marking it with numbers and jotting down corresponding numbers from, the place on the map to the place on my notes. The numbers were completely arbitrary, just based on the order in which we looked at them. And not all of them are contributing properties. So I think I would probably end up renumbering the whole thing, so that I probably would only include contributing properties. But I think this should be a goal in the coming year to complete the map and the list of inventory, so that we can easily locate and reference all of the contributing properties in the district.
So that'll take place on a spring walkthrough. We'll do the other part of town.
I think we should be able to complete it at that time, yes.
Do we want any other details on these properties, or it's just a short inventory for our own purpose of keeping track of the houses in the district?
I think, my intention at least was that it would be a fundamental tool for us just to have a list. So we'd know how many properties we had and how many, we'd have a complete list.
Yes.
And in addition to that, most certainly we could, have notes on the condition of each property. Perhaps other history or, history with our district, the exact format of what this inventory would look like. I don't know. That's to be determined, but I figured I would come up with something, submit it for review by the commission, and then we could just go from there.
Yes, I think having a short description of the condition of it at the time, so these properties can, I think we discussed this too, that they can be kept track of over time to see whether they're maintained or being restored, or if they're deteriorating, then we're able to keep track of what's happening in the district.
Agreed.
Yeah, I think we also mentioned maybe taking photographs with the date, which might actually be a good thing to tie into that. That way, notes can be maybe construed a little different. I think a picture might be, really valuable.
Yes, the Historical Commission has done a survey of the National Historic District. So a lot of those homes have already been documented and photographed. The Historical Commission has those on file.
Okay.
So perhaps we can share the same file or utilize that or add to it in the same file.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, I think that would be key in case, like you say, something pops up that we had no idea of what's going on, in case somebody decides to add something, subtract. It's kind of, after doing a walkthrough with you guys and seeing some things, and we had that discussion, this is not what they said they were going to do, and this is it. It kind of, I hate to say it, but keep them in check, so to speak. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Good tool.
Also, if we're going to try to enforce rules against demolition by neglect, I think to have reviewed every property in the district, it will be important so that the enforcement is even, that we're not picking on one person or another, that we've looked at all the houses and and if we have some comment or put some pressure on somebody, it's because, because it's warranted.
Right. Yeah, visual evidence or whatever, right? Yep.
Yeah.
Good.
All right, old business, APD signs. I sent a letter January 19th to DPW. I will read the letter. Greetings, Director Oliver. My name is Richard McGrath. At this time, I am chairman of the APDC and the Historical Commissions. I am writing to bring to your attention the situation with the signs designating the APD and the historic districts. The signs were installed by Director Rodikins last fall. One of the signs across from 71 Highland Street is missing. I noticed that there was telephone pole work done near where it had been. Perhaps that had something to do with its disappearance. The sign on Mass Ave in front of the high school is also missing. Also, the one on Oak Ave was set in the wrong place and needs to be moved to the other side of Turkey Hill Road, closer to town. A map was provided to Director Rodikins for the placement of the signs. I understand that the ground is frozen now. The commissioners request that the missing signs be put up or replaced and that the Oak Ave sign be moved to the correct position as soon as it can reasonably be accomplished. Regards, Richard McGrath, Chair, Lunenburg APDC and Historical Commission. I haven't received any reply yet on that. That's where that stands. Next item on, any comments on that?
No, very good.
Next item on the agenda, primary school. Um, Discussion on our workshop with the selectmen. Brian, did you have any comments or thoughts on the workshop?
Well, I mean, there was a lot of people that, spoke, some for and some against. I mean, I think we had our stance, but I'm not sure that we're going to win, but I'm not sure where to take it from here, Richard, at this point. It's kind of disheartening that, Mr. Jeffries is looking to maybe change the bylaw for the town building. That sounded, at least from what I got gathered from that, he didn't think it applied to the town buildings, but it was meant for everybody else in the town, which to me is a little disturbing. I remember actually being at the Ritter building when they talked about pulling the APDC together and, formulating rules and regulations. And it was definitely about all the buildings in the town. It wasn't just for the people that own houses or things like that. It was for all the buildings. So to try and now make a change just for the town buildings, to me, is not right, but I guess it would be up for vote.
Cullen, did you have any comment?
Yeah, I'll echo that comment that it was only just a comment by Mr. Jeffries. It wasn't anything that was discussed by the select board, but clearly at least one of the selectmen has it in mind that if he doesn't get his way, then he would like to change the bylaw to basically take away our enforcement power so that they can do what they want, which is disappointing. And my feeling coming away from the meeting was that the position of our board and the select board were pretty far apart. And I agree with Selectman Alonso's assessment that that we're at a sort of an impasse, and that there needs to be some way to break this, because we can't force them to maintain the building. All we can do is prevent them from tearing it down, but they can and they are letting it molder. So I think there is some pressure on us here to pursue some sort of a solution. We had two options, and one would be to put it out for another RFP, which is a process I don't really know very much about. But I think if we were going to go through that process again, that we would want to prepare for it better and be more proactive and really actively pursue proposals, like actually go after people and try to sell this, try to get people to bid on it. I think it is gonna be a tough sell, though, just because we didn't get any bites last time, and I don't know what the economy is going to be like this spring. We'll see. But I think it's also going to be tough just because this property is so embroiled in town politics, I feel like, and that there's not it's not an easy sell to somebody, especially if they can't even own the building, if they have to lease it, and they don't even know if the town will agree to lease it. So I think, that the comment that Katie Adams threw out, that it would be a good possible town campus, is one that we should pursue. I think there's a lot going for it. I think she's absolutely right that it would be a lot less money to renovate the old primary school than it would be the TC Paseos school. So it would end up saving the town a lot of money. Now, the TC Passios, I think it was the Vertex report that assessed all the properties. Is that right?
That's correct.
Yeah. And they said TC Passios met all of the conditions, but I don't think there was any oversight in the list of conditions. They had a long list of requirements for the new town hall with multiple meeting rooms of various sizes. And yeah, the biggest building fit all those needs. But I think there was a lot of asks on that list. And I think by scaling down their list of requirements for a new town hall, that the old primary school might suit that purpose quite well, and at a much less cost to the town. My other comment is that I have started pursuing listing that. It is not currently listed on the National Register, whereas the Town Pound and the Captain James, I'm sorry, the Luther Burbank House,
The Burbank.
I'm sorry, I'm blanking on the name. The Captain Jones. Captain Jones House are listed on the National Register. The old primary school is not, and getting it listed might be a prerequisite for available funds from the state to rehabilitate it. So I'm beginning the process of getting it listed so that it will be recognized by the state and hopefully eligible for funds to renovate it and save the property.
Colin, I asked on you get mass preservation?
They don't send it to me, no.
Okay, you should sign up for that. You can get a lot of, it's a statewide network of commissioners and architects and public officials that you can ask questions or ask for answers to problems, and they come up with it. I'll send some over to you.
What was that called, Richard? Mass preservation?
Yeah, I'll forward it to you, and then you can sign up.
Okay.
So it's
Well,
an online discussion for problem solving.
Okay. I know I spoke at length, but more briefly, I think that we ought to pursue Katie Adams' suggestion of making that the new town hall and creating a city government or town government campus at that location.
I thought it was a beautiful idea. Anthony, what is your opinion?
Well, again, I'm new to the commission. I don't know the whole history of the building, but my take was I liked Colin's idea, right? And preserving the building, but maybe not going full tilt and just making, if they make a town common, right? Open it up so you can have band concerts back there, maybe leave 3 walls, redo the roof, fill the hole in. So if they do decide to move this town common thing, we did kept the building, but we kind of met them halfway. You know what I mean? They got their common and we got the building. I mean, Brian made a good point. Where are you getting the funding to tear the building down? Why can't we take that funding from tearing down the building and put it into the building? I know, just my take was they were very angry. They were very angry that they can't tear down the building. That was just my take at the end. There's a lot of negativity as people signed off. I think it's in their mind to tear down that building. I love Katie Adams. I love their idea. But does she have the juice to push forward? You know, that's the thing. If they're it seems like Alonzo is neutral, but I think Marino and Jeffries wanted it to go. That's just my opinion on the whole meeting. You know, I mean, you guys came up with some good ideas. We put them out there, but at times they didn't seem too receptive. They were just more like Marino said at the end of the meeting, this is a waste of time. You know what I mean? We hard to come to a resolution. There's just my take. I mean, I don't know the whole history of the building. I've only lived in Lunenburg for 10 years, so I don't know the whole history of this whole back and forth thing. So I tried just to remain neutral and take in all the facts without having to be too aggressive, I guess would be the word I want to use.
Thank you. My impression was that it wasn't a workshop. It was a meeting to inform us that they were going to move to tear it down. And they wanted to know if we were going to go along with that. I think we've been kept out of the loop over the last couple of years in their discussions. Responses to our letters about demolition by neglect really haven't done anything. To do the work, repair work on the building that was done, and not to take care of the roof, which is the #1 priority on the building, to stop demolition by neglect and deterioration in the building. Didn't make any sense. The number one thing on a building is to keep the water out. The roof is the most important part of the building. If you neglect that, you neglect the building, and the building deteriorates. Fix the downspouts and not fix the roof helps a little bit, but doesn't. Not fixing the roof it causes a lot more damage. I don't know what we're never informed of, given details or consulted about the request for purchase. I didn't know when that went out. I don't know what the asking price was for it. We weren't consulted on any of that. I think the buildings being in the district, we would be consulted on, or at least notified on anything that's going on with them.
I think we lost Richard. He froze up.
Yeah.
Was her first, she's.
Richard, we're losing you.
I'm frozen.
Richard, we couldn't hear probably the last 20 seconds.
Katie Adams had the idea of the town campus as her first idea for the place. And if we had known about that or had been consulted about that 2 years ago, we could have worked with them towards that and finding out possibilities for grants and a restoration contractors. But again, I think there's been a lack of communication. So we haven't been kept in the loop and haven't been informed of what's going on. The demolition for the place would be $500,000, and that was when the report was done a couple of years ago anyways, and I'm sure that cost has gone up over the past couple of years. There's been inflation in the construction and destruction industry. I think with the need for elderly housing and low income housing in town, that's it's centrally located, and it's a prime possibility for that property. So that, you know, there's a number of options for it. A building like that, built in the early 20th century, its architecture was negated in the workshop, but those buildings reflect the state at the time when buildings were going from the one-room schoolhouse to a consolidated school district. Those buildings were designed by architects, drawn by architects. The whole system was planned. It reflects the community. Everybody in the community's kids went through there and became adults and grew up in the community and had children who went through there. So there's generations of the community have gone through there, played an essential and a central role in the society of the town. So historically and architecturally, it is significant in the district. That can't be negated. The forming of the district was done by the planning board as well as the APDC. Rebecca Lantry and I were the Historical Commission's agents in the with the planning board to form the rules and regulations, the bylaw, to form the bylaw. And that bylaw was formed meticulously. The planning board did a superb job in forming the village district and the architectural preservation district bylaw. Every word in those bylaws, every sentence was scrutinized. Every word was scrutinized, talked about in every single sentence. It was a excruciating long process. There was a lot of discussion about every word, how every word related in a sentence, how every sentence related to other sentences. And then that went forward, and then you get to another paragraph, and then the discussion would go back to the previous paragraph to see how it related with that. There was an extensive question and answer period at these meetings. These were long meetings. And so everything was thought of how these words and paragraphs relate, how they're going to act as a bylaw in the district, what the problems were going to be encountered. And sometimes a paragraph, the question would come up, well, how's this going to affect a person living here or this or that, or a business trying to move in, and then everything would go back to the beginning and new words and paragraphs formulated. After the planning board formulated the bylaw, that went to the select board, and the select board scrutinized, went through it from beginning to end, every single word, every single paragraph, questions and answers back and forth between the planning board, historical commission agents, and the select board. So it was scrutinized there, and the select board, I believe, unanimously, yeah, I'm pretty sure they unanimously approved it. So it was unanimously approved by the planning board, by the select board. It went to town meeting and was approved by town meeting. So to say that buildings, the town didn't intend to have the Architectural Preservation District Commission in having an oversight position of town buildings in the district is totally wrong. All these things were considered. And that's all the comment I have on that. But and the building being neglected before it was in the Architectural Preservation District Commission doesn't have any relevance. It's in the buildings are in the district, so they are under the bylaw. Just because it was neglected before the bylaw, that's meaningless. It's still being neglected after the bylaw was enacted.
Exactly.
So
Yeah, that sounds like an excuse to me, Richard, when I heard that. I mean, we went to them knowing that that was being neglected, and we gave them ample time and opportunity to do something, and they chose not to. So to me, that they still neglected, you know, the building, knowingly that they were going against what the bylaw was stating, demolition by neglect.
That's correct. The town is still in violation of the district bylaw.
Yep.
And I don't think we've received a formal reply of how that can be possible.
Right.
Richard, I agree with most of what you said. I would only disagree with your comment that we've been kept in the dark. I think they've been fairly transparent about their intentions. I think this resolution to knock it down and create a park has been a recent decision that they kind of came to unanimously when doing a walkthrough. They looked at the building and the state of it and said, yeah, we should knock it down, and yeah, park, let's go for that. But really, I don't think that, you know, really, they haven't come to us with anything that they haven't presented before, in my opinion. They've already talked about in the past knocking it down and perhaps creating a park or just deciding what to do once it was gone. But having that land there, that's what they discussed in the past. And we told them that we wouldn't go along with that. And that was almost 2 years ago. And now they're coming back to us with exactly the same proposal. Like, okay, we're going to knock it down and make a park here. What do you think? And I think our answer is still no, just like before, no. And I think both of us might need to make certain concessions. We might need to come a little closer to each other. But I think we were absolutely right in standing our ground. If they're not going to propose anything different than what they proposed before, which is completely opposite of what we're all about, then of course, no, we're not going to cooperate in the process. They had to come to the table with something better than that.
Yeah, when I
We lost him.
Mm.
We lost you, Richard.
And why not? And any discussions between 2 years ago and now, we've heard nothing from them. I think there should be because it is in the district and it is our jurisdiction, that we should be kept informed of any discussions, pro or con, concerning the building over that time. Especially, I don't have time to watch or go to all of their meetings, so I'm not informed. So I mean, to simply send us a letter of any discussions they're having, so that we can be thoughtful in our reply rather than going to a workshop 2 years later and not knowing what's going on or what's been discussed in that time. You know, what their pros and cons were between then and now. And if we were informed, then we can go forward with our discussion at the same time rather than coming back 2 years later and discussing it.
Yes.
And they haven't really made an attempt, in my opinion, to preserve the building, right? There's a lot, they could have done a lot more to that building if they cared about it, so it wouldn't have got in the state it was, right? You have windows at grade level. You can't put a sheet of plywood up, right? Protect the windows. They didn't really make an attempt. I think all along they're just waiting for it to fall apart. That way they can have their way without, and it's the easy way out instead of having to go the route. Let's preserve the building. Let's look at the building and let's take the building as a piece of history for the town. I think it's a throwaway culture that they're putting forward.
And that's what I mean, Anthony. We weren't part of the conversation over the last 2 years, so we don't really know if that was what was happening with that building. It would seem like it because the windows were getting broken and the flashings falling off the parapet wall and the water's running down the back wall, deteriorating the masonry rapidly, more and more every year. But we didn't know.
Yeah.
Richard, it's Brian. To me, I get the feeling that we never really worked close together. I think we should have maybe done brainstorming of ideas for the building or ideas for that property. We throw bits and pieces out, but it's never really looked at really in any depth. The only thing that's really come out is what Katie has said, well, let's just tear it down and use it for green space. That's the only thing that's come out right now. I guess another thing I want to bring up is when they went to, put the building up for bid, does that include the land or is it only the building? Because I get a strong feeling that the town does not want to let go of that land at all. And if that's the case, I agree with Cullen that there's probably two scenarios, at least from what they've talked about. That's either make it the town property where that's the town hall, or maybe look at, gutting the building and using it as more of a structure for, the farmer's market and things like that, where it's at least some shelter in there. It's not a real living space, so to speak, or, an office. It's more just an open space inside with a roof or shelter, and maybe some facilities during the warm months, restrooms or something. But that's it. I mean, are there other potentials? I mean, we really never really talked through it or brainstormed. There's only a couple things that got thrown out, and then those are the only things that are on the table.
Yeah, and again, we didn't receive a copy of the RFP.
Right.
When the Jones house was sold, was put up for sale. When the Susan Brown house, the old police annex, was put up for sale, the Historical Commission was involved in that. And the Historical Commission came up with specific covenants and was that went with the sale of that house, that how they had to be fixed up, what requirements the new owner would have to meet in order to be able to purchase that house. And then we went on walkthroughs periodically as the house was being restored to see that those covenants were being met. In this, we've not been consulted at all. Also,
I agree, Richard. It's the RFP process, the way it was conducted before, I think was done in a very offhanded way and without any sincere interest or intention of preserving the building. I think it was a more perfunctory exercise. And I feel like Alonzo said as much, that he said, well, if we put it out to bid one more time and it didn't get any bites, well, then would you be satisfied? Then can we tear it down? It was just like part of the process of tearing the building down. And that we would need to be involved in that process. But I'm just not sure it's even worth pursuing at this point.
Yeah. What's not worth pursuing?
Trying to get putting the building out for bid to try to get a developer to lease the land and redevelop it. I think that is something that we should decide on tonight, if we're going to continue to pursue that, or if we're going to give up on this idea and try to integrate it into the green space or make it a town campus. I think those are the two proposals that the select board might be more receptive to.
Any other comments?
I'm kind of in agreement. I don't think the town wants to give the land up, and I don't know that you're going to get anybody to bite at it if they don't get the land. That's my thought, anyway. from what I've been hearing.
In order to, if it was sold without the land, say it was made into, it was going to be made into a town hall, the building would be sold at low cost to a developer who would restore the building and then lease it to the town. And so it wouldn't need the land, it would have the building, and then the developer would get rent from the building. I worked on an old school, Catholic school in Marlborough, and there was government programs, I don't know if they're still in existence, to develop these buildings. The developer restored the building and turned it into elderly and low income housing, so much elderly, so much low income, collected rents from the building, and had the covenant that it had to put so much money every year into maintenance of the building's exterior. So, and as well as preserving the existing facade of the building as it in its original condition. So I envisioned that it would be something like that.
Okay.
Anthony, any comments?
Yeah, see, the tough part about it is, right, the building has been neglected for so long, right? Yeah, we've all seen it, right? So there's no doubt there's some structure, that's gonna need some structural engineering, right? Unless they make it sweet for a developer, I don't see how anybody's gonna walk in and say, yeah, I'll put elderly housing there. The town has to sweeten the pot for that bill for someone to come in and walk in, because they're gonna have to substantially put some money into that building to get it, habitable at any point. I imagine the walls have started to bow out from the water damage. So as you said, okay, we put it up for RFP, no one takes it. You're like, let's tear it down, I think the best, the best avenue is what we discussed, town hall and an open space. And then see if we can, if we could find some money, if we could find some grants from somewhere, right? And just, well, here, I get a $25,000 grant. Maybe the town would, kind of loosen up a little bit, Maybe I can do some research to see if there's any government grants out there.
Yes, if you want to contact the Massachusetts Historical Commission, they have an agent there who has information on what's available for money for such things.
Okay, I'll do that. Because if we make some sort of attempt, they might feel we're working with them instead of working against them. I think their whole mantra now is we're working against them. You know what I mean? It's two guys. It's a lot of this pointing back and forth. So maybe, if I can do some due diligence in Massachusetts Historical Commission, see if I can find some grants somewhere. You know what I mean? Something. Even if I come up with $5,000.
Find out what the possibilities are for that, what's available. A lot of times, especially this year when the government's infusing a lot of capital into the economy, a lot of times there's money for different things like historical restoration and money for the cities and towns and state. The structural condition of that building is intact. Buildings like that are made to last. Public buildings, schools, post offices, federal buildings, banks, any type of building like that are the best buildings made. They're made to last a long time. They're high quality. A building like that will last 1,000 years with a little maintenance, mainly roof, keeping the water out. So structurally, even with the abuse that it's had, it is structurally sound. Any other comments?
What's our position, I guess? What do we think? Tony gonna look and see if he can get some maybe grant money. I think, I don't know if Cullen's looking at maybe getting it on the register. Maybe that'll help a little bit as well. I don't know. I mean, I guess an RFP can't hurt to look into that. I don't know, my feeling is I don't think the town wants to give up the land. I think either being a town hall, or if we could somehow gut it and keep it a facility that'll work with the green space, as like a shelter and restrooms for people during the months when you're going to have and use that green space, I think would be great. And then you don't have to tear it down, but hey, you don't have to reinvest a ton of money into it either. It'd be minimal money, I would think, at that point.
Yeah. As Anthony said, it needs to be sold at low cost. When the town sold the Jones house, I think the asking price was $53,000, and it had been neglected. It was the same thing. It had been neglected for 15, 20 years or more. So it was in need of a lot of repair, and there was no buyers at that price, even though that was a pretty good price for that property. There was no buyers, and I believe the town put out another RFP. I think don't quote me, but I think that the house sold for $10,000. And they had to put in a fair amount of money to meet all the covenants. There was roof and gutter and downspout repairs, foundation repairs, chimney, siding, and other things had to be taken care of. So if the RFP is asking too much,
Right.
it needs to be lowered so that it is an attractive cost for some. The idea is to save it and have it developed, not to make money on the sale of it.
Right.
So I don't know what the asking price was, but we should find that out.
Richard, it sounds like you know a lot more. You're much more familiar with the RFP process than the rest of us are. Would you be interested in pursuing that avenue and finding out about the previous RFP and perhaps drafting a new one?
Yes.
And at the same time, I think the rest of us could work on, like I say, getting National Register recognition, getting grant money, which I think would be available if it was kept as a public building, and possibly, looking at the possibility of integrating it into a green space. Maybe we pursue all three of those options: town campus, green space, and redevelopment.
Green space means what?
Green space would mean integrating it into a park, but not actually renovating the building, just keeping it as a shell, I guess.
Right.
As a not a fully functional building, but still standing.
Maybe just restrooms or something like that.
I guess, or maybe, yeah. I don't know. We'd have to look at it, but I envision some sort of an open air space, not like it wouldn't be a heated building necessarily. It wouldn't be something so that we'd still have the building.
Right.
That would be serving the park rather than serving its own function.
Right. Yep. Oh, I agree.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, we'll work on this between now and the next meeting. Does that sound correct?
Yep.
Yeah, I'll do some research, do some Googling tomorrow, see if I can find someone somewhere, somehow to see and send out some feelers to get see if I can find anything. Then, I mean, if we at least we're trying.
Yeah.
At least we're trying. It's
our
more
job.
than,
Yep.
it's kind of more than the town so far has done to the building, done minimal to it, right?
Hmm.
With their intent, so
Mm.
it's a good effort on our part. You know what I mean?
Yep.
All right. Next item on the agenda, Brooks House. We haven't heard anything about that in a long time. I think we need to find out what's going on with that and get right. We're not getting communicated to, so we have to go out and find out what the heck's going on with these places so that we don't get any surprises and then people aren't getting frustrated. I think we can prevent people from getting frustrated with the tasks that they have to do with these buildings if we can jump ahead and find out what's going on with these, inform our position ahead of time and let people know. As we have done with the Brooks House, we let them know that we wanted that place should stay there and serve as a part of the village district and the architectural preservation district. But I haven't heard anything about that in a long time. I'll check with the planning board on last discussion we had was with the planning board on it, and they were reviewing the zone, was the lot size. It was a
Right.
non-conforming lot, and what could be done with that. So I'll draft a letter to them and or I'll show up at a meeting and see what I can find out.
Okay.
Very good.
Any comments?
No, that's what I recall as well. I think last time we had spoke about the Brooks House, they were looking to see if there was a way to split it up and maybe sell it off. Because I don't think they have any plans for that building as well.
Mhm.
Anthony, you know where the Brooks House is?
No, again, I don't have a lot of knowledge of all these things going on, but I just like Brian's comment. No
Yeah.
plans. That means,
The Brooks House is the old house in front of the library. If you're standing looking at the library, it's to your right.
okay, I'll check it out.
It was used by the school department for a number of years. Town has owned it. I don't know how long the town's owned it. Probably since it's part of the deed for that whole property with the schools with Passios, and that was a big farm,
Okay,
and that was the farmhouse. So when the property was sold, that went to the town also, I believe. And before that, it was an inn at times and probably just the residence for the farm. But on old postcards, it shows it as an inn.
how far does this structure go back?
I think it's like 1850 or so, 1860.
Wow, that's an old building. Yeah,
Yeah. And
we can put
the
a parking lot there. We can put a parking lot there because there's no parking in town, right?
yeah, I don't
That's
know.
what they say. That's
Yeah.
what they say. There's no parking.
But because it's part of the school property, it has kind of it needs to be set off from the deed so that it can be sold separate. Is that correct, Cullen?
Uh,
I'm not
There-
sure if I'm saying that.
There were some issues with the property. Yes, that it was that the building was no longer far enough away from the lot lines. So it was non-conforming in that respect. Also, that there was some access issues just because it doesn't have any street access of its own. So we were looking at getting a parking space from the library so that there would be a place for somebody to drive to reach the house, since of course you can't park on Mass Ave. So those were two major impediments to selling it as a private dwelling.
Any further comments on the Brooks house?
Nope.
Any other business?
Nope.
There's no public here to comment. Next meeting is Wednesday, February 24th. I have a motion to adjourn, please.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second. I'll second it. All in favor of adjournment, Anthony Nicastro,
Aye, Anthony Castro, aye.
Cullen Dwyer,
Cullen Dwyer says aye.
Brian Cochran,
Ryan Corcoran says aye.
Richard McGrath says aye. Meeting adjourned 8:14.
Very good, gentlemen.
Very good. Can you tell
Thank
me
you, gentlemen.
tell me again what was the next scheduled meeting? I didn't get it in my phone fast enough.
It's 24th.
February 24th.
Feb 24, 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
Yep.
And did you get, I sent you a list of all the meetings through April. Did you get that?
I'll look again. Maybe I missed it. Maybe you
Yeah.
did tell me that. Okay. I'll look again. All right.
right.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank
I
you.
think this
Have
is
a
a very
great
good
night. Good
Thank you.
meeting.
Good night.
Good meeting.
Good
Take
night.
care.
Good night. Good night.
Bye.
Okay, so I pressed the second button with the square on it to stop it. Good. And then press end. It still says it's recording.
When you're gonna end your meeting, just end the meeting.
What?
The meeting.
It's not doing it. Oh, sorry, I was using my finger.